Welcome to tonight's class from Community Homeworks. It's one of our Green Living series. Hopefully you will learn something about helping to save the environment. These classes are made possible by the Kalamazoo County. It's not the Kalamazoo County. I can't even read tonight. Our Green Living series is made possible by the generous support of the Kalamazoo Community Foundation's Love Where You Live Environment Fund. And again, that's from the Kalamazoo Community Foundation. We thank them for their support of our programming and hope that you also will help support our programming. We do accept your generous donations, and that information on how to make a donation will appear during the program running across the bottom of your screen. So please think about us as you do your year-end giving, and remember that we do help families in the community, especially those with no heat or no hot water. And your donation does make a difference for some family who does need that heat. If during the program you have any questions, please type them in the comment section. After the presentation, we will address all those questions. If you have a question later, you can always email us. That information also is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Tonight, we have two people telling us about recycling in Kalamazoo. We have Wendy Burlingham from the city. Hi, Wendy. Thanks for joining us. And Jack Brown from Republic. Are you trash service, garbage service? What's your formal name, Jack?
Republic Services.
And you've probably seen their trash containers around town. I know I have one in my driveway, along with a recycling container. So, Jack, unfortunately, my recycling container is usually much fuller than my garbage container, but that's a good thing. So
that is a good thing.
Again, we are going to listen to your presentation, and folks who are watching, please, if you have questions or would like some information, it doesn't even have to be a real question, please type it in the comment section so that one of these two experts can help you. Go ahead, Wendy. I'm going to turn it over to you and teach us about recycling, all the do's and don'ts and why it's important.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jean. Thank you, everybody, for inviting us to be here. Jack is kind of my partner in crime when it comes to Kalamazoo recycling. So he is here to help me through the process. What we're going to do is just we are going to focus on the City of Kalamazoo recycling and explain to you what we've got out there, what options you have, and how we run our programs. We'll explain what's acceptable, what's not within the city's program, and we will hopefully get lots of questions from everyone who's watching and listening, so we can just help educate the community so we can do this and do this right. Just to give some history for the City of Kalamazoo, in 1981, the city voted on a solid waste millage. So recycling has been important to our community for quite a long time, and we've been doing it since. So 1981, and we're still going strong. In about 2015, we did a survey with our community asking, what can we do to improve things, focusing on recycling? And they're like, we want carts. We had a dual stream system, which means we had those bins that everybody put their paper in. You had to separate your paper from your plastic and your tin and all of that. So the residents are saying we can't carry those carts anymore. Or those bins anymore. We want wheeled carts. So we heard you. We heard the community. And in 2017, we deployed carts. And the city's program, thank you. Here we are. So this is Wendy Burlingham, Jack Brown. We'll back up. Jason, if you can go to the next screen, please. Thank you for that. So 2016, we heard the call for carts. We started deploying carts. Today, we have over 13,000 carts out in the city. That's huge participation. And we recycle nearly 2,000 tons we send nearly 2,000 tons of materials to our MRF for sorting. Next slide, please. So the city's program is a residential program. So that means that your businesses, they have to contract for the recycling services on their own. We have an opt-in program, which means the property owner or the management company needs to call the city and request for that service. That's just kind of that we're doing it because we want to, and not delivering carts to addresses where someone's not going to be good about recycling and wanting to do the right thing. We have a bi-weekly service for our single family dwellings. We do provide recycling services for multi-units, and that frequency and the size of containers can vary depending on that unit's needs. So you might have 5 or 6 units where you'd only need 1 or 2 carts, or you may have multiple units where you need a 20-yard container. So we do provide lots of options, lots of service options for that. The city also provides a drop-off facility at the Republic's Gembrit location at 3432. So this will be recorded and everybody can check things and rewatch it. So if you miss a piece of information, we did put that in the slide as well. We are doing a pilot program for EPS, which is exciting. I mean, that's the informal name for the styrofoam. So we have these events where people can bring in their styrofoam, and we've got DART that will come in and take it, and they remarket the material. You can find all the information about the city's recycling program at www.kalamazoocity.org/recycling. We've got all the schedules out there and contact information if anyone has any further questions. Can you do next slide for me, Jason? Okay, so here's where I'm going to hand it off to Jack. He's going to talk about how to prepare your recyclables, and then he's going to go into detail about what's acceptable and what's not. And no question is a dumb question. So if you are curious, you just want to know, we are all ears, and we will do our best to answer any questions that you have. Jack, thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for inviting us to this. As Wendy said, my name is Jack Brown. I am the municipal sales representative for Republic Services. I have the privilege of working with Wendy and the City of Kalamazoo with their recycle program. One of the things that Wendy mentioned was the opt-in type program, which what we've found in Republic is when you have an opt-in like that, the product on the back end, which means the cleanliness, seems to be much better than sometimes where you just see a rollout of carts and here's your cart, take it or leave it type thing. So the city has done a really good job of putting this together and again, putting a product that we get with less contamination. Because at the end of the day, that's the key to this whole program is you have a trash container and you have a recycle container. We want to ensure that what goes in each of them is correct. So as you see by this slide, one of the simple things that we ask is whatever you put in your recycle is make sure it's empty. We don't want any liquids in there. We don't want food residue, things like that. So empty, clean, and dry is kind of the 3 phases to start your recycle program. And to again, we're here to try to eliminate any contamination in there. Obviously, the goal is 100%, but we know that that's not always the case. But if everybody would follow these kind of simple rules, we get to a really high number, which just means at the end of the day, we're gonna, of the material that the 2,000 pounds of material or 2,000 tons of material coming to us from the city, if on the back end we're recycling all 2,000 tons and all 2,000 hits the marketplace because it's all empty, clean, and dry, we win. The whole community wins. So the other big thing is not to bag this. As Wendy said, years past, they had a bin system where the residents were basically doing the sorting. And as the City of Kalamazoo listened, so did the recycling world. We listened and it was pretty simple. Make it easy is basically what people were telling us. So since then, you've seen, with Republic, right now we have over 76 processing facilities across the country. We are actually the second largest recycler in the nation. And to do this, we have put together single stream facilities where everything goes in one container, and through electronics and I-beams and magnets and all sorts of good stuff, we do the sorting in our facilities that you guys used to do at the curb. So it just helps make things easy. And if we make them easy, hopefully we can get more people to do it. So if you want to go to the next slide. So these are some things that that can go in your recycle cart. As you look at this, cardboard, ideally flattened. You know, obviously our trucks have compaction, but so boxes don't hang up in the cart, stuff like that. Flattened cardboard, paper, metal cans, whether they be steel, aluminum, plastic jugs, 1 through 7. And if you ever want to know, obviously flip the jug over. On the bottom is a number, and that number tells you, what kind of plastic it is. I was taught by an elderly gentleman that ran a facility for us long ago, and his simple answer is, if the neck of the bottle is smaller than the bottom, chances are it's a easily recyclable. So when you think about that, think about a 5-gallon bucket. 5-gallon bucket, the top and bottom are about the same size. It's not a product that should go into our residential carts. But if the neck is smaller than the bottom, then it's good. And then glass. Glass is completely recyclable too. So next slide. Ooh, that's an eye chart. So when you start looking at stuff that's not recyclable, plastic bags, they've kind of fallen off grace. These are the bags you would get from Myers and stuff like that. The problem with these are they tie up. When I talked about how we're doing the sorting for us and the electronics and the automation, part of the automation is conveyor belts and beater arms to break glass, to send stuff different directions. These plastic bags are a struggle for us. They tie up into those arms. They make the equipment end up having to shut down so we can cut them loose, stuff like that. So as you look through this, most of it's fairly, I would hope, is fairly common. No toys, no food waste, diapers, electronics, batteries, construction waste, greasy pizza boxes is always one. If it's a clean pizza box, not been used, that's fine. It's cardboard. But the cheese and the grease on that box makes it difficult. Shred paper. The main reason with shred paper is when we dump that on, it just blows everywhere. It really doesn't end up where it should. Clothing, tools, soil paper. Your coffee cups. They're, again, a paper coffee cup is fine if it's never had coffee in it. It's the food contamination that we want to avoid. The polystyrene foam, which, like I say, in this case, it's your clamshell food vendor type stuff. Yard waste, medical waste, scrap metal. Those should not be put into a residential style recycle cart. As you look at this, okay, it's cut off at the bottom. So one of the things you'll see, and I don't know if there's another slide on here or not, Jason. Nope. Okay. One of the things that, and maybe I can send it to Jason, is Republic Services has invested into a website called recyclingsimplified.com. I'll say it one more time, recyclingsimplified.com, all one word, recyclingsimplified.com. It is a great website that kind of goes back to what we just talked about, but it's also a website, you'll see, if you get a chance to go to it, there is a section there for educators. So we've committed to helping from pre-K all the way up through 12th grade with lesson plans and videos and things like that that are structured to that age group. I highly recommend that if you get a chance, take a look at it. and it kind of goes through exactly what we were talking about with some, like I say, some videos and things like that. It also shows videos of what a single stream MRF would look like, and single stream material recovery facility. I use our jargon and I shouldn't. And one of the things on there too is holidays. So you can look on there and see what can and can't be recycled during the holidays. So that's always a big question obviously this time of year, of what can be put in there from wrapping paper and things like that. So, all right.
Okay. Jack, I just want to build off of that. So we've got our list of unacceptable items. So we do have alternates for things that are not accepted through the curbside recycling program. And I mean, that's the beautiful thing with the city and the solid waste millage and those other programs that are available out there. As part of that millage is we provide alternative recycling services. So like your electronics, city residents can take your electronics to household hazardous waste. Same for your chemicals, your household hazardous waste. That's a program that's available to city residents as well. And to build off of the bags, you can take those to your local, big box stores, your Meijer, your Walmart. You can take those bags to those places and they will accept those in return. So I just wanted to build off that, these are things that are not acceptable through the curbside program, but we do have alternatives for the residents in the city. So it's great stuff.
Good. What about milk cartons?
Yes.
So milk cartons are a tough one. And here's the problem with milk cartons. They're coated in wax. So as a general rule, they're not recyclable through your cart, because the way cardboard works is they take the cardboard, they literally float it in water to have it break down to create a slurry, where they take that slurry and then put it back through a process to make cardboard again. That wax coating on most of your jugs, and again, some don't have it, but if they have a wax coating on it, it makes it very difficult for the material to break down. So that's why milk cartons are a tough one.
Yep, it's something that actually somebody else taught me is if you scratch it and you can scratch that off, if you don't know if there's wax on it or not, if you can scratch that film off, is that a good example, Jack?
That is great. Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
but the plastic milk jugs are.
Absolutely. Plastic milk
Empty,
jugs are
clean,
great.
dry.
Good product.
Empty, clean, dry, yes.
Empty, clean, dry. Let's see, you cannot recycle aluminum foil. Which is it? That is a good question. Aluminum foil, I don't know that I know that answer, to be honest with you.
We will look into that one and get back when we get a certain.
Yeah, I don't want to state anything and be wrong with it, but I will check into that. Well, first off, Emily, thank you very much. We're glad to see, every community needs the recycling gurus. So we appreciate it. And no, it does not. I mean, obviously, the hope is that, if for some reason somebody put a 5-gallon bucket of spaghetti sauce in there, yeah, it potentially would ruin the whole load. But that's generally not the case. If somebody put something like, the styrofoam, things like that, a little contamination, we really strive for less than 10%. Anything less than 10% contamination in a container is great. We're heading in the right direction. So as long as it's not a product that leaks and seeps into everything else, usually the load is still good. Now, we have had occasion where somebody put their oils from frying a turkey in there, and at that point, yes, it will saturate everything in that load, and we've had to dump the whole load. But for the most part, if it's a little bit of contamination, we understand. That would be sorted out at the material recovery facility, and everything else would be processed.
That's what I wanted to build off of too. Thank you for raising that up, Jack. Is there are different levels of sorting that happen. So if there's a minimal amount, somebody puts that styrofoam in the curbside recycling, or they decide to put that pizza box in there, there's still a level of hands-on and sorting that happens. So those things can be brought out of that in the sorting process.
Great point. So yes, you can. As I referred earlier, we have a website called recyclingsimplified.com, and on there it shows one of our automated recycling centers. And as Wendy alluded to, I keep saying automated because it seemingly is, but there's still a row of 10 to 15 people that manually do the first sort. They're picking stuff that is clearly not bags, debris, different things like that. They will pick out before it goes in. So, but on that website, recyclingsimplified.com, there is a material recovery facility that it goes through and shows how it works.
And I also have a couple videos we've gone and toured the facility that sorts our material as well. So I've got a couple of videos if you're looking for something that's our real material out there.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. No. So Emily,
again, a great question. So in 2018, I don't want to get deep in the weeds here, but in 2018, there was China pretty much shut the United States off from sending anything overseas. So where a lot of our material did go to China previously, there's something that in our world we call it the China sword, where they basically said no more. We're not taking any more recycled material from the United States. Partly because we were sending them less than desirable material with more contamination than what we would want internally. So fast forward, a couple years till now, what we're seeing now is within the United States, our facilities that process our plastics and all have grown. They've popped up in places to take that plastic now and regrind it and outlet it to different facilities. And I'll use one for example called Cascade, which actually makes carts, like your bins that you put your stuff in, your recycling. They have a product called EcoCart, which is reusing a plastic regrind from the recycling world. So the plastic market has rebounded and is doing very well in the United States, and kudos to us within the United States. We found the way to utilize it internally and not rely on sending this stuff overseas. So great question. But yes, keep recycling that plastic. Yes. It is recyclable. It is being recycled. And right now, the value of it is starting to come back up.
What are some products that are made from recycled after you've recycled it? What gets made these days?
With the plastic?
With anything.
Yeah,
the
so
cardboard,
a lot of your
plastic, the glass.
So glass is actually kind of redone back into glass. So they'll grind it back down, make glass again. It's used in some concrete, things like that. Your plastic is used. It's used to make shoes. It's used to make your clothing, where you have a blend cloth that's not 100% cotton. That's plastic. So gosh, you can watch the television and see ads of people that are making socks out of X% of recycled and flip flops and things like that. And cardboard is simply what it sounds. It is redone, re-put back into a cardboard box. It's rebuilt through that slurry system and through the mills. So it all has value. It's all being reused, and part of the reason I think we're seeing the plastic market come back up is we're seeing oil be more expensive. So it's kind of it's a weird correlation, but when oil's cheap, plastics don't have as much value because it costs more to recycle that plastic than it does to just create new. But with the oil prices a little higher and all, the markets are coming back across the board.
So if I put amber glass, green glass, blue glass, and clear glass in my recycling, how does that machine turn that? No, does it sort the colors? I mean,
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yep. Obviously, clear has the most use on the back end, but it's all done through electronic eyes, stuff like that. So yeah, it will sort out the color. Now it may not it won't distinguish between a green and a brown bottle. That will all go as one, but it'll take out the clear and separate that off.
so if I want to recycle, let's say my pickle jar,
Okay.
do I need to soak the label off of it first?
You don't. Nope. That's a great question.
Because you
So,
used to have to. When I
used
first
to
started
have to.
recycling, you had to take
Oh,
labels
perfect.
off of
Yeah.
everything, the tin
Yeah.
cans, the glass
Back to-
bottles.
Back to what Wendy alluded to with the city movement, everything's, you got to kind of make it easy. And who wants to sit there and peel a label? But I will tell you this: when you get into a pickle jar, make sure you take the lid off, put the lid in separate, because the lid is metal, and we don't want it screwed on there. So put the glass in and throw your metal lid in separately, and then it will get through the recycle facility. There's this thing called an eddy current, which is basically when you remember in school where you played with magnets and you put them together and then you spun them and they pushed apart. It's essentially like this. It just shoots the metals out of the recycle and it goes to one direction. Now, consequently, on your water bottles, leave the lids on because they're plastic. The water bottles are plastic, and that little lid on your water bottles is too small and will fall through some of the screens in these facilities. So on your plastic jugs, things like that, leave the lids on those.
So if it's all the same material, it can stay together. If it's two separate materials, take them apart.
You just hit it right on the head. Yes.
So like today, this is my junk mail.
Okay.
And I've seen the billboards. I love the raccoons.
Yes.
That says don't stuff things inside of other things. Now this is all paper. Can I put paper inside this big envelope to put it in my recycling bin?
You can. And when you carry it out there, dump it loose.
Okay.
Yep. Dump it in there loose because it will get processed that way much easier than when it's combined.
Okay.
But let's go back to when you have two different type materials. So how many of you have got the manila envelope with the bubble wrap inside? So that type of product is not recyclable because they've combined two different products. They've combined a fiber outside with a plastic lined bubble wrap inside. That unfortunately should be put into your trash container because it's two separate products unless you want to peel apart get the paper off of that plastic. That's one of those things where you have two different types of material and you can't get them separated. That should either go into your trash or spend the time to do the separation, which most people probably aren't.
Is that why the Amazon bags say the bag is recyclable if you take the paper label off?
Yes. Yep. And speaking of Amazon, when you get the little I don't even know the little pillows that they pack stuff in, those are not those.
The ones that are like clear plastic bags that.
Yes, ma'am. That are big square and they on a string. Those should not go into your recycle either. Those are similar to the
to a bread wrapper.
To a bread wrapper, but they're also similar to your grocery bags where they tie up on the beater arms because they're anything you can easily shove your finger through for a plastic bag like that is generally not a good recycled product.
One of my other questions that somebody has sent me was how many pounds of products are kept out of landfills, but I think you answered that question.
We're nearly 2,000.
Yeah, when you look at the city of Kalamazoo, that's 2,000 tons. So, I mean,
And that was last year's full. That was last year's full number. So that's people were home. People were using things. People were thinking about how they're recycling, thinking about what they're bringing into their home and how they're going to get rid of it. Right. That's good. It's awesome. Awesome stuff to see.
Now,
yeah, so the answer to that is 4 million pounds. That's what it translates. We say 200 tons, which doesn't seem, but in Wendy and I world, that 200 tons is, but when you look at pounds, that's 4 million pounds of material that didn't go into the landfill.
so it's definitely well worth our effort to
Yes, ma'am.
to try to do a good job at this. You talked about a manila envelope. A lot of them have the metal clasp. Should we tear that part off?
If you want to, that would be great. It's again, some of that is understandable, but it still does get recycled. But yeah, anything, little stuff like that.
Staples and a bunch of papers.
So staples are fine. Now, if it's if you made a staple and squared it and stuff like that, then that's different. But a staple in the corner, again, that gets ripped apart at the facility and through the process.
Sorted all correctly.
Ma'am.
Okay. Another question was, is recycling available to apartment complexes? And you said yes.
Absolutely, yes. So the property management or the owner of the property needs to contact the city, and then we will set up a site visit and then evaluate based on the size. And we just kind of guess to begin with and what size container they need and the frequency. So absolutely, yes.
Right. I managed an apartment complex for a while, and we had trash rooms on 4 floors technically. And we had the individual container carts, and we'd pull them all down on recycling day, and the poor guy would have to get out and do cart by cart. But but it was a senior complex, and it was just difficult for them to bring it down and put it in a Herbie or a
container.
Yeah, a large front load style container.
And we could kind of clean it up before you guys picked it up a little bit. Now, my maintenance person didn't go through piece by piece, but if she saw pizza boxes that still had pizza in them, she would just into the big dumpster and try to do a little of it before it hit you guys. Made me think of another question, and it went away just that fast because I'm old.
I was thinking the same thing. So I did want to, I'm just recapping in my head. I wanted to make sure that we get a video of our MRF to share with you guys, and maybe some documents and a link for Jack's website for Republic.
Right.
So I definitely want to make sure I get that information out there.
I know what my question was. Do you guys work, I guess, Wendy, more you, do you work with realtors at all to, when a house is sold and they give you all those stacks of papers, do you give them something about how to get a recycling cart?
Not specifically with realtors, not any specific interactions with them. But
title companies?
Well, I would hope that they would contract themselves. Maybe they have a shredding service or something, because our program is residential. So,
right. But I was thinking, like, when you close on your house, if you're new to Kalamazoo, how do you know how to get a recycling bin?
I see what you're saying. So no, and that's a great idea. Now I'm following you. Yes.
I have people that moved in next door to me. They've been there close to 2 years now, and they don't have a recycling cart. And it annoys me no end. And when it's recycling day, I go over to their garbage, because I live in an area where I'm lucky enough that garbage and recycling are on the same day. And I go, well, this could go in recycling and this could go in recycling. And I kind of pick through their trash and put it in my recycling bin.
But we do actually, let me build off of that, because we do send out a view from the curb twice a year, and that goes to every address inside the city. And I believe there is a separate contact distribution list for realtors. But
right.
Yeah, that's definitely something. If that's a group of people I'm not touching, I need to actively touch that. So thank you.
Well, I just didn't know if there was a way we could do it better than, I mean, I love the view from the curb and it tells me all sorts of things I want to know, but the people that lived in the house before, he'd go, how do I know? I said, read this. Well, how am I supposed to remember? Put it on the front of your refrigerator.
Right.
It was just, it's like it needs to be in your face, which is like why I love the raccoons on the billboards around town. I think that helps.
Yes.
Maybe the raccoon need a billboard that says how to get a container, in some good spots.
I like that though. If that's a group I'm missing, I'm definitely need to put a touch on that.
Oh, here's another question. Does Kalamazoo City recycle different items than the surrounding townships and other municipalities?
So we are different in some ways, Jack, if you want to allude to that, because I would speak on the city's behalf, but how are the other communities different from us?
So it really depends on the community. Most of at Republic Services, what can and can't be put into our containers is pretty standard. There's not necessarily anything that can't go in because you live in the city of Kalamazoo, or can't go in because you live in, the city of Bronson or something like that. So what goes in there is pretty much standard. I think the differentiation really is the commitment of what the city has done, as Wendy alluded to, with the Hazardous Waste, the electronics, things like that, where not all communities have that available. It's quite frankly, it's not a cheap adventure sometimes, and especially when you start talking about the Hazardous Waste and all. But Wendy can obviously speak.
And then curbside programs, I would think that, we've got a curbside program. I'm thinking of other, smaller communities where they don't have curbside programs, where you would only be able to take your material and drop it off.
True.
Maybe they've got limitations of the material that they can accept at that level. So they are different, but I would think that your all-in-one, your single stream recycling are all going to majority be the same thing.
My daughter lived in Tennessee for 10 years, and her town had a great big
30-yard roll-off.
Yeah, well, kind of, but it had a lid on, little doors.
Yep.
And you could put cereal boxes in one. You could put paper in one. You could put a corrugated cardboard box in a different one. And you could put tin cans in one. They did not do any kind of glass. And then if she drove 45 minutes to the next big town, to the big town, it wasn't even the next big town because her town was little, they took clear glass, but not colored glass. And so when I would go to visit her, she'd always have a box of recycling for me to bring home because I could do it here. And she's like, I'm not putting this in a landfill when I know you can put it in your recycling bin.
So actually, along the glass lines, Jack, lab glass and your baking glass, those are things that are not acceptable. Am I
right?
Okay,
right.
So I think that's the baking glasses and your lab glasses.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Can't put your Pyrex in there. There's a great question. Is it possible to get a second cart? You go, Emily.
That is a great question. And the city provides one cart for every single family dwelling, but you do have an option to lease an additional cart directly through Republic, and Jack would be your contact for that. And I think it's minimal per year, but Jack would definitely be your contract. It is an option, but not through the city's program.
Well, I think we've answered this question. You need to talk to your management and ask them to get some of the roll-away carts because they can. I know I've done it. I think we had at least 3 on every floor. So that would have been 12 carts.
Like the 95-gallon carts on each floor? I'm not sure that we'd be able to do that, but we could definitely... And I have no problem getting creative with the property manager. If that's something that, if you guys are serious about recycling and you want an easier way to get it, and, maybe there's a floor contact person or something along those lines. But yeah, reach out to me. I think all my contact information will be shared from this event we can get creative. We can come up with ways to make sure that you guys are able to do it and do it well.
I think if you approach your management with, we'd like to do it correctly, we'd like to do it easily. And that's
hey,
one
got
of the
name.
things
This
Kalamazoo
person said.
Kalamazoo offers that option of making it as easy as it possibly can be. So let's take advantage of it. Here's another good one. Does Kalamazoo Public Schools recycle?
That's a great question. I would hope so, but that would be something that they would do on their own because it's not a residential. I would be very hopeful that, and I would be very shocked if they didn't. But
Thank you. I can speak to that because we have the privilege of servicing them, and almost every one of their schools has recycling at it. So
we recycle at work.
oh, perfect.
We have one of the rollaway carts, like the residential one.
Okay.
And we pull it across the street because we're the only building on one side of the street, so we don't want the truck to work hard. And we pull it across the street and park it next to the neighbors when they put theirs out, and then you guys come and dump it, and away goes our recycling.
Perfect.
Thank you for that. Nice.
I used to bring it home, and then I went, this is silly. I'll just bring the cart to work.
Talk about bringing your work home.
Yes. Oh, here's another. What can you do to encourage others to recycle? Well, I think tell them to watch this show.
Absolutely. Great question. We are always open to suggestions, and we are all ears when it comes to what can we do to help others recycle? What events can we host? What type of information can we get out there to you? What kind, is it flyers? Is it social media? We're always looking at new ways to get additional people recycling. Now, let me touch on this again, that we have excellent participation. If we're looking at about, close to 17,000 parcels or properties with houses on them for recycling, and we've got 13,000 carts out, I think we're doing pretty good. We need to celebrate that success. But we are always all ears. It's, social media. We're always working with the state. We've got our recycling raccoons. So we apply for grants so we can do advertising. We've got social media, city social media, and events like this. Again, thank you guys for having us. Things like this are what we're making it easy for recycling, and you just need to be educated on it. So here we are. Let's do it.
Well, we're just so glad you were available. We had someone from the state, and we would ask him specific question about Kalamazoo, and he'd say, well, you'd have to check locally. And it's like, okay, we need to find a local person.
Who's the local person? Somebody find the local person, please.
What about, which batteries are recyclable and where do we take them? Well, I'll answer one. I know you guys have a way, but my daughter told me the other day that Lowe's has a bin. It's right by their return desk, and there's one for light bulbs, and there's space in it for batteries, and then there's a space in it, I think maybe for plastic bags. There's three places.
Nice. Awesome. And I will build up of that. So Kalamazoo County Household Hazardous Waste, they accept them there, and that is a free service for City of Kalamazoo residents. And I don't know exactly what type of
take it to Lowe's.
Yep. And you can look on the Kalamazoo County Household Hazardous Waste, and they have a very extensive list of what they do accept and what they don't. I don't remember the exact batteries off the top of my head, but they've got a very extensive list on their website.
What did we do before websites? How did we
have
learn?
Better memories, maybe.
But I was really surprised that Lowe's had that service, because
that's interesting.
For some people, finding the hazardous waste place or having it open when they're available, where, you're going to Lowe's on a Saturday afternoon. I keep we'll call it a Meyer bag, a shopping bag, hanging in my basement stairway. When the battery's dead, you drop it in there. When the bag got full, I would take it. Well, now I can take it when I go shopping and get rid of it.
Very nice.
The other place,
that's good to know, because we're always looking at ways to share more information. So good to know. Right. We can advertise that too.
The other thing that, when recycling started, it was the reuse, recycle, reduce, the pyramid. A lot of the thrift stores in town will gladly accept your bring home the grocery bags as long as they don't have holes in them, because that saves them having to buy bags to put your items in when you shop. So if I know Recycled Treasures downtown will take them. I believe the one on Westnedge will take them. The big ones like Goodwill and Salvation Army, I don't think they take them. But some of the smaller places love to get your plastic bags.
Good to know.
And I believe Ministry with Community loves to get them too, because people come in with their dirty laundry in a bag and they're able to do their laundry. Well, you don't want to put your clean laundry back in that bag that maybe's had your muddy pants in it. And so they'll get rid of that dirty bag for you and give you a clean bag to take your clean laundry in. So there again, it's that reuse before you recycle.
Got it. Right there at that level. Yes.
So are there any other questions out there, folks? It's been so nice to hear from so many people this evening. This tells you Kalamazoo wants to know about recycling. This is more questions than we've had in a long time. We love
exciting. It. Thank you.
Yes. Let's see. I don't see anything new. Again, if you have questions, you can email Wendy at the City of Kalamazoo. That information went across the screen, and I'm sure Jason can put it back at the end. You can contact Jack at Republic Services. You can rewatch this video and share it with your
friends. Having a hard time sleeping.
My cat has enjoyed it immensely. He's back here taking a bath. There you go, Eddie. But my cats have been a source of entertainment for these presentations for the last year. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to add to? How about just your garbage in general, Jack? What shouldn't you put in your garbage can?
Well, ideally, anything that you would take to the hazardous waste facility, paints, any paints, especially if it's oil-based, that can't go in there at all. Latex-based, if you solidify it using, sawdust, kitty litter, as long as it's not free-flowing, that would be okay. But ideally, all the paint should go to the hazardous waste. It's a free service. Batteries, fluorescent bulbs really should be recycled. And again, it's some of this is a wish. We don't want it there. Even electronics. If you have anything with a motherboard on it, ideally those get recycled. Tires, construction waste, stuff like that should not go into your trash bin. Automotive batteries never should go in there. Things like that.
What about yard waste or sticks?
Yeah, good question. Great question. Thank you. No.
Quick answer.
Well, in the state of Michigan, it's actually illegal for us to have yard waste, organics going into our landfill, into the face of the landfill where the trash goes. Does it end up little bits, maybe here and there, but ideally, no yard waste should ever go into your trash container.
But I've got an answer for that too. So the city has a brush program that runs May through October. It's monthly. So residents can take advantage of that brush program. That material is handled properly. We also have a spring cleanup that takes place in April. So that means our residents can put all of their organic material out to the curb in bags or biodegradable boxes, and we will take that. So another option available to our residents.
I got to make this comment because working with Wendy, I think as you've gone through this presentation, I think what you see is where we say no, that can't. The city of Kalamazoo has gone through an in-depth way of finding alternatives to where we can't do it, but they find homes for it elsewhere. And that's not out there in a lot of communities. So kudos to the city, kudos to Wendy, and all for doing this, because like I say, we want to take everything, but we can't. But they have found ancillary ways to do that. So I think the community you guys live in and we live in has stepped up. So
For sure.
Wendy, can you address, Jack kind of touched on it, what can and cannot be recycled of holiday waste? I know that in the past there's either been a place you could take your dead live tree, if that makes sense, not an artificial tree, but like one that a real tree. What about like colored wrapping paper? Does that go in garbage or recycling?
So I'll let Jack touch on that because I have the visual in my head, but I need to look at that piece of paper to say which exactly. But I am going to touch on the live dead Christmas trees. The city does provide that service. We used to have a curbside service of it, but now we do provide a drop-off location, and that's going to be at 322 Stockbridge, and that is from December 26th until January 31st. So that's another alternative for people. Make sure you take the decorations off. Don't put it in a bag. Just those kinds of things, because it does go to a site that is going to be, brushed up and chipped up and used for other means.
So tell me about where that address is. Is it between Burdick and Portage? Is it between?
That's exactly where it is. It's between Burdick and Portage on the south side of the road, right across from the city's office, Public Services.
Okay. So where DHS used to be?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And Jack, can you talk about the wrapping paper and?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to come back to what we discussed with the milk cartons. So, like gift bags, if it's uncoated, if you can't scratch anything off, it's just paper. That can either be reused or recycled. If it has a coating on it, a wax coating or some sort of film, then it should be reused or put into your trash container. Obviously, boxes, recycle them, reuse them, whatever. Wrapping paper is very similar to bags. If it's uncoated wrapping paper, it doesn't have if you spill water on it and it soaks in type thing, that's probably got a coating on it. That should be either reused or tossed. But if it's uncoated wrapping paper, absolutely it can be recycled. Bows, like if you put a bow or a ribbon, those are not recyclable. So, hopefully they get reused. And then like tissue paper, the colored tissue paper, that is fine to put in. That can be recycled or reused. So you're good there. All this information, guess where it's available? Recyclingsimplified.com. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
There's a plug.
What if that gift bag is that glossy paper, or what if it's not the glossy paper? Because the glossy paper doesn't really have a coating, it's just glossy paper. Or what if it's got glitter all over it? I mean, you can scrape glitter off. So would that be considered not recyclable?
Yep. Yes, it would.
What about the fancy foil? What about the fancy foil wrapping paper, that super thick foily stuff?
Well, I think that comes back to aluminum foil probably, okay. But again,
we'll have to get an answer on that.
If it's not a paper product type thing, it's probably not recyclable through your bin.
But that made me think of something else, and as fast as it comes in my head, it goes away. It was some kind of paper that I was thinking about, or wrapping stuff. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it'll come back to me. Who could we talk to about shifting the bulk trash pickup schedule to better line up with the end of leases? In Kalamazoo, leases typically go August 1 to July 31, but bulk trash is in September. This is definitely an issue in the Vine and Edison neighborhoods, and Emily and I both know that.
Sure. Emily, that's a great question. Go ahead and send me an email. We're always revisiting our programs and ways that we can improve them. We hear the lease end piece, what we can do about that. I can't answer that right now, but shoot me an email and we can talk about what other options are out there for us.
because those two neighborhoods have such a high rental proportion of folks living in them that, for weeks we see couches and beds and all sorts of things piled around. So it would be nice to not have to look at that stuff. It kind of makes our neighborhoods not look as nice.
Yep, absolutely.
Emily, do you have anything else you want to know tonight?
And actually, as long as she's asked about the different programs, the other programs that are included in that solid waste kind of bundle that we do, we've got the biweekly recycling, we've got the quarterly bulk, we've got the brush program, the spring cleanup, we've got what's actively taking place right now, our leaf removal program, we've got household hazardous waste, just a whole plethora of options out there for our residents. So there's great resources out there. And if anybody has any suggestions, or we're all ears about how we can get the information out there so it can be utilized to its fullest by the community.
And I would assume A View from the Curb is available online somewhere too. So that if you throw yours away in the recycling, you can still look things up.
On the website, KalamazooCity.org. And I think it is just View from the Curb, /View from the Curb.
Yeah. I always try to hang on to mine, but it's not always happening.
By the time the new one comes out, the one that I use on a regular basis is just falling apart. I've taped it together.
Well, and I love the tear off calendar of when your recycling is. That's on the front of my refrigerator, because then I didn't have to keep the whole magazine. I could just take the piece I really look at all the time, because the minute I'm gone for a week, I go, oh, is it this week or next week?
That makes me proud.
I've been known to put mine out and have the wrong week. So it's,
it happens. Though. It happens.
Well, I always figure I don't think I've ever been missed. So I just assume if it's not empty that I was off a week, and I just put it out the next week. I also try to put my two containers if it's trash only week, it goes closer to the road, and the recycling one sits further down the driveway. And then when I bring the trash back in from just trash week, I put it on the far side of the recycling one if it's recycling week the next week. So
makes sense.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it won't. So, Cooper, did you want to talk about recycling at all? Did you have anything you'd like to add? I know you don't want your cat treats recycled. Yes, you can come over here. Come on. People like to see you too. I only have little cats. Eddie's the biggest. He weighs about 25 pounds. So, and they hate the garbage truck.
Uh-oh.
But they like the recycling truck, right?
And the recycling truck. No, any truck that makes a noise. I live in an area where they've been doing a lot of construction, and they used to at least like to sit on my front porch until the trucks were all there this summer, and now they're terrified. They're afraid of my front porch now because the trucks make noise. But that's okay, because now they stay in the house better, which is what I like. So, but well, again, unbelievable amount of information. Thank you so much. I feel like we've shared answers to many, many questions, and I know I've learned something, and I've been recycling since you guys started the program. My parents recycled in Florida. As I said, my daughter recycles. My son brings his recycling from down by Sturgis and puts it in my recycling bin. My daughter is a very dedicated recycler. She runs all of her cans through the dishwasher before she brings them to me. So,
wow, impressive.
Yeah, well, they sit in her garage sometimes for, up to 6 weeks, and she doesn't like them to, be smelly at all. So she saves them in a box, or she had the plastic containers that you can have to put your recycling in. She puts them in there, and then before she's going to put them in her garage, she does a whole load in the dishwasher of her cans and plastic.
Very nice.
Making that empty, clean, dry to the utmost. Tell her thank you.
Poster child, thank you for
Yes.
that.
But again, thank you guys so much. And folks that
you.
are watching, please remember you can go back and watch this video at any time. I think we can add all the contact information before we put it out on our Facebook page or YouTube. And people can then contact you if they have, any other suggestions, questions, ideas. And again, we'd like to also, of course, thank the Kalamazoo Community Foundation, the Love Where You Live Environment Fund for sponsoring these green living programs for us. I think tonight you've learned a lot of ways you can live green without much effort. Again, thank you guys. Thanks for watching, everybody. Next week, we'll be back at Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Please join us then for a fun program. Talk to you later.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
Take
you.
care.